So, Brian is from East Belfast, and we don't hold that against him in this place today. There's grace for him, like we say.
He lived in the Shankill for a while.
He lived in the Shankill for a while. Is this on? Yep, okay. So, explain very, very briefly, growing up in East Belfast, family life, what was that like for you?
Family life was great. It was just a normal family. Mum, dad, married, two sisters. Just a loving family, and just a really good upbringing. Never seen my mum and dad fight. They didn't drink in front of us, so everything was great.
Right, but at some point then, things begin to kind of break within that relationship of your mum and dad, and they split up. How old were you, and what impact did that have on you?
Say I was around 12 when they broke up, so it sort of had the impact where I had to choose where I lived, and it was a big thing for me, them splitting up, and just had to deal with just the whole breakup.
Okay, so at that time then, kind of you're starting to get into your early teenage years, you begin to get involved in smoking grass, things like that there, dabbling in a few things. Again, what age were you whenever that all started, and what impact what was going on in your life at that stage?
Yeah, I think it was just the thing to do. There was nothing else to do. We actually stood at the back of a church, funny enough, so with it, with a carry out and smoking a few joints and stuff, and watched people going in and out of church. But it was just the thing everyone done because there was nothing else to do.
Okay, so again, what is your early teenage?
Say about 15, 16.
About 15, 16 years of age. So I'm just trying to kind of, because we're kind of rushing through the early years, because what we want to kind of get to is maybe at that stage you weren't aware of, kind of psychologically, mentally what was going on in your life, and maybe now kind of looking back, you're able to kind of piece a few things together of what was going on with family breakup and things like that there. The kind of early stages of the smoking the grass and stuff like that there, did that then lead on to anything harder, anything stronger?
Yeah, so I like to say, because I like smoking grass, it wasn't a gateway drug, but now I can say it definitely is. So it sort of progressed then, so 16 getting into laveries, taking ecstasy, cocaine and stuff like that, and it was like the thing to do was, since you're phoning your friends on a Monday going, did you see the state of me at the weekend? Rather than going, nowadays, did you see the state of me, and being embarrassed about it. It was sort of like showing off, if I'm honest.
So this year, kind of 16, 17, 18, your life is now basically revolving around parties and drug taking, and alcohol is it's all becoming a big part of your life. Something that you obviously enjoyed doing, because you're phoning friends and saying here and bragging about the condition and the state that you got into over the course of the weekend, yeah. The drugs become so dominant within your life that you begin to run up debts. How did you kind of look after the debt? What was going on then?
Well, it was always had a good job, and it sort of was all or nothing for me. So family life was all, had loving family and stuff, had kids that I loved so much. Put everything into work, so I was struggling with that, but I was also able to pay them because I had a high-paid job, and I always had a high-paid job, so I didn't struggle in the ways other people do, where they get roped into getting a wee bit of debt, then start have to sell a wee bit more, and just to even make what they're taking. So I sort of thought I had things under control.
So you became like functioning, and you're able to function in normal life, but at the same time you're out every weekend, and it's parties and everything that goes along with that there, and you're having fun at this stage. So you kind of don't have any what you would consider to be worries. You're kind of like living this carefree lifestyle of doing what you want at the weekends. You're working a high paid job, so you seem to have everything under control. Explain then kind of what's going on, because things then would kind of begin to take a wee bit of a turn from your mum, because she, in splitting with your dad, she ends up in a relationship that doesn't go too well. Yeah. If you want to kind of speak just a wee bit about that.
Yeah, well, she ended up in a bit of an abusive relationship, and for a lot of years. In the end, she moved up to the Shankill. So it was actually a Shankill outreach team. A couple of girls called her door and had a chat with her, and she said, she phoned Jack and says, I need a Bible. I think Jack maybe was praying about it. And he brought her down a Bible, and she started coming to church. She could see it, but I could see the brokenness in her changing into more positive and seeing hope in her. And she completely changed her life around. So she did.
As far as I can remember, she came to the estate with pretty much nothing, and I can't remember if you can keep me right on this here, if the house that she got, it didn't have electric in it, or she was looking for a house, but I think it was Johnny Adair that actually got her sorted with electric and stuff like that there, and he actually looked after him, all right?
Yeah, Johnny knocked the door and said, "No electric. There'll be two boys around about
Sort
15
that out
minutes."
for you, yeah. So you've watched your mother go through, splitting up with your dad, being through an abusive relationship, and it was bad at times. She's moved on to the Shankill, and she's getting help. She gets a Bible. She comes to church. She becomes a Christian. Did you notice a change in her life?
I noticed a change in her life, and I would have came to church with her a few times on Mother's Day and a couple of other services because I sort of had to. But every time Jack would have said the prayer, like the sinner's prayer, I would have raised the hand up and every week. But then I wasn't ready for it. I was just kind of doing the same thing again. It was just all for me. It was just by that stage the drugs and alcohol have just taken over my life, and that's all I really had to cling on to. Nothing else was making me happy.
Okay, so it's fair to say that you and your mum had a very, very, very close relationship. You were very tight, and it's only right that we point out, that when Alex was coming here, that she met Tommy and they got married. And we were looking yesterday just at old photographs over in his apartment, just looking at old photographs. And there was a remarkable change in her life as she committed her life to Christ and started to come to the church. And just to see the change in her was absolutely phenomenal. She got involved with Cara with Glow and was actually very instrumental in pushing Cara out and get this thing started and get this thing going. And Glow has been a bit of a legacy, I would say, for Alex and what she has kind of left behind. And if she can only see the effect and the impact that it's having on so many women's lives today, she'd be overwhelmed with everything that has taken place. And she was a part of that in those early days. But things kind of took a bit of a change for your mum, if you want to explain about that there and the impact again that it had on you.
Yeah, well, my mum, she got cancer, and she told the family and stuff, and we were all so upset, obviously, and we're devastated about it. And she came and got prayer, and the cancer went away, and there was no other explanation for it. The doctors didn't have any, and she was completely cured, and we thought this was amazing. So, say about a month or two later, it came back 10 times as worse. She only lasted a few months after that, But even though I found a book of hers the other day and was reading through it, and she was thanking God for being cured, and if you can do this for me, you can do it for anybody and stuff like this, and so positive. But even at that, she got the cancer back and she still trusted in God. I was holding her hand when she died, and I could still see the faith in her eyes. I just said to her, "You know where you're going," and then she passed away. So at least I had that moment with her before she did go.
So what impact did that have on you? You're having to say goodbye. And I remember Tommy phoning, crying down the phone, saying, "Johnny, the cancer, it's gone. And I'm like, "What? Are you serious?" Because it was advanced even in that first time. And listen, we don't have, I know that there's more spiritual people out there and theologians that will have a reason as to why the cancer came back and in the time frame that it did and took her life. I don't have an answer for that there. But I remember, going through that there and doing the funeral. Explain the impact then. Where did your life go after that?
After that, it was just a mess. My mum, she was the support, so she was emotionally. And then 5 months later, my dad, he passed away of cancer too, so he was the physical support. So all the authority in my life had gone. And to deal with, I didn't even deal with that. I was still working away. I was living with my own family and stuff, my partner, and I was just dealing with it with using drugs and alcohol again.
So it's fair to say then that beyond, what started off as fun, let's do this timeline. What started off as like hanging out the back of a church and smoking grass and messing about with mates, alcohol, blow, whatever is going on in your life, and then progressing to a bit more harder drugs, and parties, alcohol. This is all becoming a dominant force in your life, but it's all fun and games whenever it starts. But now things have begun to change in your life, and these things then, is it fair to say, grab a hold of your life and begin to actually, rather than be fun, is actually more now destroying your life?
Yeah, totally. I didn't see it at the time, but it was a coping mechanism, so I didn't have to deal with anything. It was just a different reality. The way I looked at it is, if I could have one day without thinking those thoughts or dealing with things, that was good enough for me. But I didn't realize the impact it was having on my family, my friends, and everybody around me. It was just all about me.
So you're now in this place over the last prior to November of last year, I would say maybe about 2, possibly 3 years. Because we're connecting, and he's phoning me, and he's going through all this stuff, and he wants to change. He really did want to change. He kept phoning, and we'd have caught up, and we'd have had long talks about things, about life, about what was going on in life. But this stuff still had a hold of you, I would say. But things then take a bit of a more kind of another turn, where you end up losing your job, and psychologically, mentally, you just become, you go down a path that you never ever thought. You want to kind of speak into that there? What happened with the job and how you were feeling last year?
So all around after the loss of my mother and father and stuff, and the destructive years after that, it just got to the stage where I wasn't going to work in time and lost my job. My family breakup, wasn't seeing my daughter, and I was just in a bad place, sleeping on my sister's sofa and stuff like that. And I just thought to myself, how can I build this back up again? How can I start over again now at my age? And I just don't have the strength to do it. So I was going to the bar maybe 7 o'clock in the morning when it opened, and just staying there all day and just trying to just forget about everything, really.
So you're at this stage where you're now thinking, you don't have anything. You've no home. You're not seeing your partner or your child. It seems like everything is now falling away from you, and everything that you placed your dependency on is now gone. And you're at a stage now where you're feeling like, I have nothing. And you get to a stage then last November where you think this is the only way out. Can you explain kind of in the week or two building up to that then last November? Because I'm sure there will be people watching this video who are in a similar situation, and who are struggling, and who are thinking, there's only one way to deal with this here. So kind of speak into that, those kind of couple of weeks leading up to that. What was going on in your mind, and then what happened?
A couple of weeks before that, I was just feeling hopeless, and to do something that extreme, to jump off a bridge, in my head, I had to first of all fall out with everybody and lose everything. So my sister said, don't call to my house when you're drunk. I only called when I was drunk. Don't be taking tablets. I took the tablets. Even my friends were saying, Brian, don't call up if you've had a few drinks. So I just tried to self-destruct everything in my life that I even had left to hold on to, convince myself that I was a terrible father. What kind of dad am I, really? And that's what gave me I wouldn't say strength, that was what gave me the urge to just finish it.
So everything was all planned, all the phone calls, turning up drunk, all of that there. This was you planning to go and do what you felt, you needed to do. Can you speak in then to that night and what happened that night? Because you're in this stage now where it's like, right, everyone's now gone. I'm better off out of the scene, so everyone can get on with their lives. Yep. Explain what happened and who saw you whenever you jumped.
Well, I just went up the D Street and got onto the bridge. It was about 25 feet high, and I seen the motorway, the train tracks, and then there was waste ground. And in my head, the waste ground, no one would find me. So I jumped off head first because I didn't want to survive. Didn't want no one to find me. But just as I jumped off, a girl drove around the corner and seen me, and where I landed, her mother just lived right beside it. So from as soon as I hit the ground, there was someone there with a blanket around me, and she phoned ambulance and stuff.
So our ambulance comes, you're airlifted off, you end up in the Royal. He's in a coma, in an induced coma, and you've got significant injuries, obviously body injuries with spine and leg and stuff like that there, and not able to move. You kind of start then to come around, you have been spared, and you end up in an old people's home recovering up in the Antrim Road. So what then begins to change, in your life? How do you go from being this person who wants their life to end, who is just hung up on drugs, on alcohol, on parties, on women, on all of that lifestyle, to now going to church? And every time he phones me now, and messages me, it's like it's a verse of scripture. What do you think of this here? This is what I think. This is what God's doing in my life. What changed with you whenever you woke up?
It was all God. Looking back, I can see right through my life where God was working. God was always there. And when I ended up in the old people's home, I had a chat with Downey in hospital, and I didn't know, because of the fractured pelvis, I couldn't go to Musgrave because they wouldn't take me because I couldn't do the physio on my leg. So metal rods down my leg, and the fractured pelvis meant I had to go to an old people's home. He says, just don't worry, God's got you. So I went up to the old people's home and was lying in bed and started reading the Bible. And I'd never read it before, but I was the biggest critic of it. Water into wine, I head on mum. So I started reading it, and a guy came in, Brian, and he was one of the carers there. He says, oh, reading the Gospels. So God even put me in a place with another Christian there. So before I jumped off the bridge, I met a community pastor, John Mina from Millfield Church, and he was a great support even in the lead up to it. And he was there, and I started doing an Alpha course. So within the Alpha course, learned who God was, who Jesus was, why he died. And that week, the start of the night Alpha, no one turned up. It was just me, but there was 5 leaders, and they all stayed for the 10 weeks with just me, really. And the counselling I got off them, they sent me to see a counsellor. The counselling I got off them was worth 1,000,000 times what the medical care was. There was no aftercare, no nothing. But from then, I started thinking, right, God, are you real? So I was lying in bed in the old people's home by myself and says, God, if you're real, just please make me better, make me able to walk again, give me my family back, give me my life back, give me somewhere to keep my daughter, and I'll tell everyone about you. So he's kept his side, so that's why I'm here now.
We had always talked then, whenever he was in hospital, and he was concerned about, where he was going to end up after hospital, because he couldn't go home, didn't have a home, and he had nowhere to go to, and he had to be in a place where he could be looked after, and he was worried, about ending up on the Antrim Road or somewhere where nobody was going to know where he was or be able to visit him. And we just kept talking about saying, listen, God is going to look after you. So wherever you end up, it's because God wants you there. And he had to trust, he had to learn to trust, and is still learning to trust God with decisions that are made that are out of his hands. And I remember, saying, because he would have preferred to have been, in East Belfast, but then we're saying, look, if you're in East Belfast, that's going to be easier for you to get out or to go somewhere, because people. If you want drugs, you go and get the drugs. But sometimes it's better just to be out of the way. And it actually turned out to be, it's not a great place, this place in the Antrim Road. I remember going to visit him, and this wee tiny Matchbox TV on the wall. It was so small, and it really just wasn't a great place. But it was in those moments, I remember the guy that was serving the food and stuff like that there, he was a Christian. And just these guys who would just come across his path, that you just wouldn't expect, but yet they're Christians and are able to touch base with them and share with them about their stories. and then ending up with John Mina, and these guys in Willowfield have been absolutely phenomenal for him and his development, and the change in him now has been absolutely tremendous, and we're just looking forward to what God has in store for him for the rest of his life. He's back, as you can see, up and walking about. He's got an apartment in East Belfast. His daughter is with him, you know, so she's upstairs at the minute.
She's also safe now.
She's also safe now, and this is one of the things that, you know, again, one of the things that we would talk about, but I keep telling people is that it doesn't just change your life, it changes your kids' lives. It really, really does. It will have an influence on the children as well. So absolutely blessed to be able to do this here today. Will you give him one final round of applause and just thank him?